Hello, everyone, and welcome to your yin practice this evening. Tonight, we're taking advantage of a few props, including a cushion or a bolster if you have at home, and a couple blocks as well. Now, if you don't have blocks, you can get away with a couple extra cushions or even some hard books if that's available to you. We're going to be starting seated this evening, so if you want, you can sit up on your cushion or a block, or even a rolled up blanket can sometimes feel supportive for your hips. Finding a nice, comfortable seated space here, let your sit bones ground into the surface beneath you. Your hands resting onto your knees or simply into your lap. And as you start to peel your shoulder blades back and closer towards one another, feel a sense of opening growing across the front of your chest. Now invite a slight tuck of your chin to your chest as we begin by welcoming a full inhale through the nose. Follow it with a big sigh out your mouth. And we'll do that again, inhaling fully. And exhaling out. Take one more full breath in and out on your own, releasing the tension of your day and settling into a more present place. Now taking one hand onto your heart and the other onto your belly. For just a moment, begin to feel the movement of your breath beneath the surface of your skin. As you inhale, feel your body expanding up into the fabric of your clothing and into your palms. As you exhale, allow your rib cage to soften and your breath to move back up and out. As we take time here to connect to the natural cadence of our breath, you may begin to notice the quality of it. If it's labored or perhaps more smooth. Maybe just by bringing our attention to the breath, we begin to experience a subtle shift of it. And tonight, as we work to hold postures for longer periods of time, your breath is going to be one of your strongest tools in helping you stay connected, present, and easeful in your body. So from here, let's begin to move towards a box style breathing where we inhale to a count of 4. We'll hold the breath for 4 counts. Exhale to 4, and then again hold at the bottom for 4. So take a full breath in and out here first. And then let your next inhale start to draw your breath in for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Now keep witnessing your breath, breathing in a more balanced and cohesive way for just a few more rounds on your own. As we settle into stillness in each shape, you can find yourself coming back to this style of breathing, or simply a fuller inhale and exhale as we work to maintain more space from the inside out. This breath carving out more space not only physically in the body, but creating more room and space between our thoughts. And as you witness your thoughts inevitably come and go throughout practice, pay attention to them with more detached awareness versus clinging on to them as we usually or often tend to do. As we remember that yin is a practice of slowing down and down-regulating both body and mind. From here, you can slowly begin to release your fingers and take your hands just on top of each knee. Roll your shoulders back and down, and stay here seated comfortably as we start to just slowly circle the hips, moving our upper body around with breath, noticing not only the areas that feel really open and spacious in our hips, but also the parts that feel congested, tight, or sleepy. Tonight's practice is designed to open up the hips, but that opening doesn't come without effort. So as you notice initially how both of your hips are feeling, rather than judging them for carrying tension or resistance, we can send perhaps more breath and even some self-compassion to our hips for everything they do for us. Change directions once you've sat back upright, and we'll move the other way. Try to maintain that full feeling of your breath. We'll find 2 more full revolutions. You may notice one hip is more open than the other, so don't expect our bodies to look the same as we approach right and left side. Instead, let's aim for that same feeling we can cultivate of space within. And as we sit back upright here, when you're ready, you can bring your knees up, swing your legs around, and meet me on your hands and knees, finding a tabletop position. Now, from our tabletop position, you can slide, if you have a pillow, underneath your left knee. If you don't have a pillow available to you and would like to still pad your knee up, you can also roll your mat up to give yourself a bit more cushion. Now, with your left knee padded up, let an inhale extend your right leg back behind you. Exhale to step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Now here my stance is quite close, where I feel my left knee in a little too far. So slide your left knee back and come into more of a low lunge position here. We're going to start with the dragon series as we work to hug the right knee in closer to the tricep. Some of you may choose to stay onto your hands. Some of you may come onto fists at any time if your wrists start to give you grief, and others if you find you have more space. You may want to take your forearms down onto blocks underneath your shoulders. However, try not to round your back, just to go lower with your upper body. Make sure that it feels breathable and sustainable for you here. So in yin, we remember that we hold postures for longer lengths than we do in other practices. So consider starting with a more subtle sensation as we let that sensation increase with time. Pull your shoulders away from your ears as you welcome a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale out as you sigh. Taking some time here to breathe and to take stock how both right and left hip are feeling. Right now, your right hip is experiencing compression or a shortening of your hip crease, while your left is doing the opposite. It's extending or creating more length. So try to breathe into both or wherever you experience the most sensation as we come back to those fuller inhales and equally as full exhales. Try to keep your jaw soft. As time goes on, we unintentionally stick our tongue to the roof of our mouth. So try to maintain a bit more space if you can by letting your lower jaw hang heavy or even allowing your lips to slightly part. We have about another minute in this variation. So breathe. Take 2 more full breaths. And from here, you'll remain as you are with your upper body. Let an inhale start to gently turn your right toes over to the right and just off of your mat. We'll find the outer edge of our right foot moving closer to the floor as well as we start to find our winged dragon variation next. You may notice you have a little bit more space as we start to open out our right hip. So use that space to your advantage to either deepen into your breath with or perhaps find a deeper position physically. You can choose to stay onto your hands. You can also take your forearms again down onto blocks, books, or even the floor. Keep leading with your heart and allowing your breath to be the guide that navigates you towards a more spacious state. As time goes on, if you do begin to experience numbness or tingling to the point where it takes your presence away from the practice, then please come out, take an adjustment, and listen to your body. I used to think in yin, I had to stay statue-like once I settled into the shape for fear of doing the practice wrong and looking bad in front of others. I probably injured myself more than what I'd like to admit because of that. So yes, we do want to remain as relatively passive or still as we can through each pose to really investigate what's going on. But if you do experience pain or discomfort to the point where you can't breathe fully, then please take a slight variation. Come out of the posture and give yourself space to relax back into. Continue to melt your weight into the front of your left hip. Again, we have about another minute or so here. Now for the final part of our dragon series on this first side, if you've come down to your forearms, let an inhale just gently draw you back up onto your palms. Your right foot is good as it is. With your left hand stacking underneath your shoulder, take your right hand onto the inside of your thigh and just gently begin to rotate up and over to the right. Continue to melt your weight forward into your left hip, and again, we have about a minute or so here. Think about breathing evenly. Maybe taking your gaze up. Your eyes can close down. All right, 2 more breaths. And slowly, as you inhale, let's start to come back through center, heel toeing our right foot now over to the left. Drawing your right knee behind your right wrist. Prepare for your sleeping swan or pigeon pose, as you may have heard it in other forms of yoga. As you extend your left leg further back behind you, you can keep the cushion underneath your knee if you would like, Or if the back of your right hip needs a little bit more support, allow your cushion or a block to move underneath your right hip instead. Now walking your hands closer to your hips on an inhale, think about lengthening through your spine. As you exhale, lead with your heart and begin to fold forward. Some of you may stay on your forearms. You might take your forehead down to stacked fists, palms, or the floor, but be mindful how far you go. Wherever you go, bring your breath with you. As you settle into your shape of sleeping swan, maybe give your hips a gentle rock from left to right a couple times. Settle into the sweet spot of the stretch for you, whether that's neutral or perhaps shifting over to the right slightly. I know just on a personal level, if I fold exactly through center, I almost feel like I'm getting stuck in my hips because I am. And so in order to bypass that compression or bone-on-bone sensation we feel, I can adjust and adapt the posture to meet and fit my body by simply leaning over to the right side. This still gives me the same release without taxing out my bone structure so much. Soften your shoulders away from your ears. And breathe through this last minute. Stretching your breath between your ribs, feeling your torso widening as you inhale. As you exhale, softening into even more space. Now take your last breath here. And then slower than what your body may want to move, begin to gently place your palms back onto your mat as you inhale. Tuck your left toes, slide your left knee, and then gingerly send your right knee back to meet your left. You can either release in tabletop, taking some time to stretch out, or tuck your toes and lift your hips back into a gentle downward dog, bending your knees a bit more here. However you choose to release is up to you, and as you feel some of that achiness beginning to subside through the front and inner edges of both hips, you'll take about 3 more breaths. So from your tabletop or downward facing dog, let an inhale extend your left leg up. Exhale to step your left foot to the outside of your left hand as your right knee drops down. Now remember to pad up your right knee or roll your mat up if that's what you have. We'll start by hugging the left knee towards the inside of our tricep. If you need to slide your right knee back to lengthen out your stance, you're welcome to. And remember to pull your shoulders away from your ears here. Get nice and melty into the front of your right hip. And try to stay rooted more through the inner edge of this front left foot. Together we'll take a full breath in and a big sigh out the mouth. Now you're welcome to stay here onto your hands. You can also drop down onto forearms on top of blocks or towards the floor, but my body's not feeling that tonight. As we start to get quiet with the movement and really listen for what our bodies are asking from us, it's not always to bury ourselves with more busyness or doing. Sometimes our bodies need less so that we can find more restoration, more relaxation, and more space inside in order to get back to the busyness without feeling overwhelmed or burnt out. Take your last 2 breaths in this variation. And from here, you can gently start to turn your left toes off of your mat as you inhale, followed by the outer edge of your left foot finding the floor here. Again, in our winged dragon, you may notice a bit more space for your upper body to soften into. So either staying on your palms as you are or grabbing blocks, cushions, or maybe allowing your forearms to make their way to the floor. We lead with the heart, maintaining even more length into our spine. So avoid closing off space through your front body by rounding your back or tucking your chin. Keep your gaze lifted, even if the eyes are closed. You want to allow your chin to stay away from your chest as we neutralize the back of the neck. Let's take a deep breath in and a big sigh out. Again, you may notice that left and right hemispheres of the body are completely different experiences, and that's very common. So our job here isn't to judge whatever's going on, but notice and instead adapt either our actions, our breath, or even our thoughts towards a more supportive and spacious way of being. Meet resistance with breath, judgment with love, expectation with compassion. Remembering that we are perpetual students in this practice. I was thinking about it the other day, and it's been 20 years since I started practicing yoga for myself. I took my first yoga class with my mom when I was 14 years old. And since then, I've learned so much about myself, both on and off of the mat. And I've grown to realize that the way in which I show up on the mat usually reflects how I'm showing up off of it. By paying attention to my internal states and giving myself a chance to really feel whatever my body needs feeling. I give myself a place to not only move through it, but let it go. You would think after 20 years of practice, my body is flexible in all sorts of ways, which it is, but there's definitely still areas of tension, places of disconnect that remind me, again, we're forever students when we step onto our mat. So take another breath here. Keeping your lower body as it is, an inhale will remove your blocks as you come back up onto your palms. With your right palm staying on the floor, allow your left hand to find the inside of your left thigh rather, and we gently rotate to the left. Soften your shoulder, and maybe tilt your chin up over your left shoulder as we breathe through this spiral line from our left shoulder down to our right hip. Release your jaw. And take a few more fluid, full breaths in and out. Last breath. Now let an inhale guide your torso back through center as we now heel toe our left foot over to the right. You'll move your left knee behind your left wrist. Release the cushion from underneath your right knee as your right leg extends back. Again, if you would like a support underneath your left glute or hip, you can find your cushion moving there. As your fingertips walk a tiny bit closer to your thighs, you inhale. Now exhale, leading with your heart, we begin to fold. We have time in this shape to release, so start by taking a few breaths, perhaps on your forearms, before allowing your chest to migrate even closer towards your inner left thigh. releasing your jaw, and moving with integrity here, perhaps shifting your weight to the left and back through center a couple times until you again land on the sweet spot of your stretch. And breathing once you found it. If it allows your mind to stay more connected, consider inviting the count of your breath back into your practice. Inhaling for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold for 4. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. As time goes on, we realize we don't necessarily need to breathe more, but become more efficient with the breath that we do obtain. As we stretch out this breath cycle, not only do we give our physical body a chance to stretch, but we stretch the nervous system in a way that downregulates it and promotes more of a parasympathetic response, or that rest and digest that we all too often avoid when we're caught up in life's perpetual busyness. Find your last minute here. And notice, what can you let go of on the exhale? Unhinge your jaw and take one more full breath. And now let an inhale begin to press your hands back underneath your shoulders, maybe moving a prop out from behind your left hip. As you slide your right knee in, slowly slide your left knee back as you take some time to release, either in your tabletop or tucking the toes under and lifting the hips into a downward facing dog. Enjoy a few breaths as well as a flooding in of space through and towards your hip region. Good. All right, let your next inhale bring your knees back down to the floor. You can swing your feet over to one side and meet me on your seat. As we get ready to come down onto our back, you're going to want to have just one block or a pillow, a bolster also works very, very well with you as we lay down. So as you come onto your spine, meet me there, hugging your knees into your chest and giving yourself a little squeeze. All right, after giving yourself a squeeze, you can lower the back of your head onto your mat. Plant the soles of your feet down, hips width distance, and from here, you'll take your cushion, your pillow or bolster, or your block underneath the back of your pelvis. So letting the back of your hips land onto your block. From here, we're going to find a really supportive variation of our butterfly or reclined bound angle pose as we support our hips throughout it. So start by drawing the soles of your feet together as your knees open out in opposition. Now, I encourage you to give just a gentle rocking of the back of your hips onto your prop beneath you. Finding any adjustments that you might need to make. With the block underneath our hips, we feel a sense of decompression through our low back, which can be quite delicious and opening, but it also can be quite sensational. So find your breath. Your hands alongside your body, onto your belly, or even up and overhead as you take a few full rounds here. And as you settle into stillness here, allow the creases of your forehead to soften, the back of your skull to sink even further towards the floor. Now start to connect with the points of your body that are in direct contact with something. Whether it's the floor, any props, or even the fabric of your clothing. And you start to invite more weight down throughout these spaces each time you exhale. Tuning back into your breath. Allow it to wash over the entirety of your front body, towards your hips, and down your legs, maybe even towards your toes, as you feel your whole body lighting up with space. Continue to release back into that space. Knowing you're supported, held, and safe to let go. Let's take 3 more breaths. Now, as you inhale, bringing your hands to the sides of your thighs as you help your knees back up. Begin to plant the soles of your feet onto your mat and just take a moment here in the rebound phase of this pose to acknowledge and welcome any new space that you've carved out. From here, we'll pull our knees into our chest, keeping our prop behind the back, giving ourselves a gentle squeeze, and then releasing the feet back down to the floor. Now, this next one you can do in one of 2 ways, and I'll demonstrate our supported bridge with one leg extended, and then I'll give you the option to extend both. So keep a bend into your left knee as your right leg moves long onto your mat. As your right leg extends, you might notice that your low back feels okay here. And so if you want, you can also extend your left leg forward. This is going to increase the back bend that we experience, however, so if you feel any sort of discomfort through your low spine, take a bend back into your left knee, and I'll cue you when we're about halfway through to switch. Your hands can stay as they are. And in this one, sometimes I like to reach my arms up and back for even more space into the front of my shoulders and chest. So do what feels good for you here. Our hips do so much for us on the daily. And so to dedicate time like this on our mat to open up and to start to release some of the things our hips are holding on to isn't an easy task. But it is worth it to experience a happier and healthier state in and around our hip region. This time that we spend on our mat doing less isn't a luxury. It's nothing we deserve only when our to-do list has been completed, but instead it's essential time for us to be able to get back to that list with more clarity while feeling empowered in our ability. I'm sure we've all heard the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. So consider this an invitation to start to fill your cup back up. For those of you that are in the half variation with me, you can let an inhale simply slide your right heel back in. And as you exhale, your left leg now goes long. Stay where you are and breathe. Less doing, more feeling is the intention behind this practice. We find time for our bodies to recover on the regular, whether it's through yoga or hot or cold therapy, massage, chiropractor, acupuncture, all of these different modalities. What we don't realize sometimes is that our minds need time to recover as well. And usually, in order to recover, we don't bombard ourselves with more doing, but accepting and understanding the importance of stepping away from it every once in a while so that our mental state can recover and return to a more regulated place. So this isn't a practice of doing nothing. In fact, as we slow the body down, you may have noticed already just how much activity and aliveness is flowing through you constantly. Instead of getting carried away by our thoughts or worries, we can choose to acknowledge them and then practice setting them aside as we actively work to create more space between our thoughts by feeling. We'll take a few more breaths here. When you're ready, take a bend into your left knee, planting the sole of your left foot onto the floor. If your right leg was extended, you can also bend your knee as well. Invite a gentle lift of your hips up as you remove the prop out from underneath them. And from here, we'll hug our knees into the chest, giving ourselves a nice big squeeze. Now, as we prepare for Shavasana, our body's final resting place, I want you to set yourself up so that you experience the support that your body deserves. You can use a cushion or a pillow behind the back of your head. Sometimes it feels supportive to move a prop, a bolster, or a rolled up blanket behind our knees so that our low back finds support. If you're close to a wall, you could put your legs up the wall as well, so take time in setting up. Give yourself a chance to move beyond the boundary of your mat by separating your arms and your legs as wide apart as you can. And for these next few minutes, your job isn't to worry about whatever's coming up next, but instead to feel your way back towards more consciousness, embodying awareness. Know my voice will bring us back when it's time. Find another breath in through your nose, followed by a gentle sigh out. As you begin to reorient yourself in space, notice the feeling of your body lying down as it is. The rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. And a slow formation of movement through both fingers and toes. Ankles. ankles, wrists, and maybe stretching the arms up and back one last time. From here, plant the soles of your feet onto the floor as you roll over to one side. From there, gently pressing yourself up and meeting me on your seat with your hands together at your heart. Bow your chin and find a moment of gratitude for the time you've taken to slow down. Welcoming this feeling of spaciousness physically, mentally, and perhaps even emotionally as we connect to the current of consciousness that's always flowing within. This current that moves you through your life, and each step of it is worth taking time to connect back to. So thank you for connecting with yourself this evening and for sharing space with me here on the mat. I hope you have a wonderful sleep. And from my heart to yours, namaste. All right, thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you're feeling a little bit more relaxed and spacious through both body and mind. And I look forward to connecting back with you here again soon through Ascend Online. Until then, take care.